Hello, welcome back to the bench here at Cryptic Woodworks. I'm starting to find as I make puzzles that, a good portion of the job is really just coming up with creative work holding solutions to the problems that are facing me. So you might remember from a few of the other videos, I've got these nice tubes created. You'll notice a little lip around the edge. That's just to hold a bit of a collar that'll go on it when they're done. But what I need to do are put slots right down the center of them. Now, this is one of those cases where you're like, well, table saw would be incredibly dangerous. I certainly wouldn't want to do it there. I don't have a mill, so I can't do it in like a jig where I could simply, feed the jig back and forth in the mill. And drill presses aren't great for milling. Not very good on the heads of the drill press. They're not designed for that. And the router is really the best, but how do you hold this piece on a router? It's way too small to try to do anything by hand. It could easily roll and really spoil the cut. So what I came up with was a very simple jig, but surprisingly, took me like an hour or so thinking about it for how I wanted to do this. So I took a nice little block of wood, drilled a hole right down through the center, sanded it lightly so that the pieces will just barely fit in there and can come out easily. And then to hold it, what I did was just drilled 2 holes through the side, and then these are tapped with a little 1/4 thread tap. I use ones from Eagle America. You can pick them up. They're wood taps you can buy through them, but for something this small, you could easily just use a regular metal tap and just go through there. So this way I can turn these in, and then it holds it precise and holds it very well in there. So I could take this piece. I actually have it set so that I know when it's flush on this side, it's the distance I want. I tighten these screws down just a little bit. Now, this piece is held very securely in there, and we can head over to the router table and route this slot. Okay, over here at the router table, I'm set up with a little 1/8" bit. I have a stop that tells me how far I want to cut into these because I don't want to go all the way through. And then what might be kind of hard to see, probably on the cameras, I have a little tiny pencil line here, because what I actually do is I have my fence set so that I'm a little closer to the blade at this point between here and here. So I'm not quite on center. What I want to be able to do is to move the fence just a tiny bit and have this cut just a little bit of a wider slot, so that way I have just a tiny bit of play that's going on inside of this slot. And I always want to cut a little closer to the blade first, because that way when I do the other side, it won't run away and try to grab the bit and pull it. So you want to be very careful about that. Always make sure to manage your cut direction. All right, so let's go ahead and run one of these, and we'll reposition the fence, run it again, and that's how we'll cut a slot. And you'll also notice I have my block set up here so I can keep my hands nice up and away from it. Always good, especially with a tiny piece like this. Okay, now that that's stopped, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move this. It's only going to be a tiny bit. On the camera, you might not even be able to see me move the fence, but I can tell looking at my line that I am slightly away from it. So now I can go ahead and cut it. And there, we've got a slot. Okay, there we go. Now that our slot is cut, all you gotta do is loosen these 2 screws just a tiny bit. Try not to jab yourself with a screwdriver. A little bit more. Yeah, I wish I had a smaller bolt. This is just all that I happen to have on hand at the moment. And I've got a nice little slot cut there, a little tiny bit of paper, very papery edge, but that'll come right off with the tiny bit of sanding will take that off. So there you have it, one way to cut what would otherwise be a very difficult slot to make, made very easy with just a little bit of ingenuity and a tiny scrap block. Keeps you safe and helps you cut a nice part. So anyway, I hope something like this helps you out and you're enjoying these couple of little videos about how to make some different things in the shop and how to get creative with your work holding and how to use your tools. Anyway, stay dusty.